Officials are investigating the death of Mario Campbell, 36, as a homicide after he was attacked by two other incarcerated persons on January 15, 2025. At 5:07 p.m., officials responded when incarcerated persons Cody R. Taylor and David M. Gomez were attacking Campbell on the main exercise yard. Staff quickly quelled the incident with one application of chemical agents. Campbell was immediately taken to the prison's triage and treatment area for injuries he sustained from the attack. Staff summoned an ambulance, which transported him to an outside medical facility. Campbell was pronounced deceased at 6:25 p.m. by a hospital physician. Officers recovered 3 improvised weapons at the scene of the attack. No other injuries were reported. Officials have limited movement on the yard where the attack occurred to facilitate the investigation. Taylor and Gomez have been placed in restrictive housing at SAC's Investigative Service Unit continues its investigation. The official at the Inspector General has been notified and the Sacramento County Coroner will determine the cause of death. Campbell was received from Sacramento County on October 19, 2009, sentenced to life with the possibility of parole for penetration with force against a victim's will, first-degree burglary, first-degree robbery, and assault with a firearm, each an enhancement for use of the firearm. The sexual battery, false imprisonment, preventing, dissuading a victim, witness, possession of a firearm as a felon in possession of a controlled substance. Taylor, 32, was received from Ventura County on May 8, 2013, sentenced to 6 years, 4 months for second-degree robbery and possession of a controlled substance and possession, manufacturing of a deadly weapon by a prisoner, both second-strike offenses. He was most recently resentenced by Sacramento County to life with the possibility of parole on May 22, 2020 for attempted first-degree murder, and possession, manufacturing of a deadly weapon by a prisoner, all third-strike offenses. Gomez, 58, was received from Los Angeles County on April 14, 1998, sentenced to life with the possibility of parole for rape, resist, force, or violence, oral copulation with force, and first-degree burglary, all third-strike offenses with enhancements. Buenos Dias, Gunners Collective TV. Back at it, you already know. Like a motherfucking smack addict. Buy up, buy up. And in Menudo Style in direct fashion, we're going to get straight to the content of the day. But as we do, I need you to hit that like and subscribe button. Ding! Put your notification bell on all so that way you're directed in the direction of the dope content that the gun is kicking. And I highly appreciate all the support, man. Thank you. So, the monster of New Folsom is back, right? And he's back in a real way. Now, do you guys recall or remember me doing a video and several other content creators doing a video about the monster of New Folsom, Cody Taylor, right? AKA Monster for Nuestra Cosa. An individual who had decided that if for no other reason he was going to take the life of the opposition on the prison yard. Now, usually when something like this happens, a pegada or a removal, there's a big story behind it. There's big reasoning behind it. Someone messed up, they fucked up. You know, they went against the grain. Their filth is discovered. They're bad news. They're garbage. And people decide they have to go. They got to get off that yard. They can't function on that prison yard anymore. And New Folsom is a very dangerous place. It is a 180 yard. You know, there has probably been more murders on that yard than any other 180. But this was the SNY yard. Okay, so this was a yard where these individuals that were there were already all together for one reason or another, already considered trash by general population. But there's a massive gang influx, dropout gangs or SNY gangs or whatever label you want to put on them. And these guys are trying to control these yards by force. So there's a lot of guerra, a lot of war, a lot of incidents that are happening on these yards. Now, Cody Taylor, aka Monster from Ventura County, was an anomaly. When I first heard his story, I tripped because, you don't see very many guys from Southern California, Ventura County, that decide to rock with the traditional opposition, meaning he fell off, he dropped out, whatever happened along the way, he decided to basically side up with the Northern Riders, right? Or Nuestra Cosa, which is an offshoot of the Northern Riders. They have a little bit of a different philosophy, a little bit more hardcore is what people are saying. this guy decided to, group up or be a part of that. And basically his heart is all the way in. He's all the way in. Now you ask yourself, where was this energy on the main line in GP? I don't know this guy's story. I don't know, why he fell off or why he got put in a position that he got put in. But this incident that just happened the other day is going to boggle your mind, right? There's a lot of twists and turns in this. And I know Dubs is doing a video on the same thing, man. And we're coming at it from a different angle. So you have to understand this. The part or group that this guy Cody Taylor is affiliated with, the gang, right, is called Nuestra Cosa. Now, a little bit of history on that is, the Northern Riders were a gang that was formed by Mauricio Snoop Vasquez, right? Badass Snoop, in opposition of the Norteño cause. And this man has gained infamous status because of the way he's acted, the group he was able to assemble, and just some of the incidences himself has been involved in. If you recall, man, Snoop has also been involved in a prison murder that occurred about 2 years ago or a year and a half ago. So this guy's definitely leading by example. Now, there's a lot of people that liked Snoop and backed him up, backed his play. And then there's a lot that were in opposition of it that did not like the way he was steering the car. One of them guys was Scrappy Diaz, right? Scrappy Diaz, decided that if for no other reason, he was going to start his own, prison organization on the SNY side. And he started a group called Nuestra Cosa. And that is what Cody Taylor is a part of, right? So at the same time, with that being said, Cody Taylor decides that if for no other reason, he's going to join this group and rock hard. I don't know, like I said, his situation, why he was put in the SNY yard in the first place or, on the other side of the fence, but he got there. However it worked out, he got there, right? So he was involved in a murder, and ultimately convicted of it. And if you guys recall, that murder happened in New Folsom where the guy was chained. He was literally chained and handcuffed to a desk. And the monster, Cody, and his partner, right? His camarada, his crime partner, his crimey, whatever you want to call him, they pulled out pieces and they went to work, man. They butchered this guy. Now, at the same time this was done, there was a lot of skeptical people because how was this achieved, man? How was this done under the radar of, up under the radar of the CDC like they didn't know? Now, of course, Cody Taylor, there was a video that was put out there where he came back and said, that it was actually a hit and that he was actually allowed to do a dry run and able to be in position to do that. Whether you want to believe that, that blaming of the CDC or not, that's what come out of this man's mouth. So he does the murder and he ends up catching, life with the possibility of parole. In most cases, they usually ship you away from the prison where you catch the pegada, where you do the murder, right? In this case, they decided not to do that. In this case, they kept him there because lo and behold, just the other day, there's another murder that occurs, right? And it's a black inmate, that had SO charges, meaning sexual assault charges, SA charges, excuse me. And these sexual assault charges, on these SNY yards, there's going to be a lot of guys with bad charges. So I don't know if this guy, was targeted because of that exact reason, or maybe he was a part of this group and got removed from this group for whatever. But the trippy part is this, the twist and turn is this. So at 5 p.m., this week, in the evening time, these guys were able to access, availability to the day room and to the yard. Now, I've never heard of these guys on a 180 level 4 yard having access at night yard, but they were given access to which, man, allegedly they got busy, right? This guy was butchered and was pronounced dead. Now, the crime partner is the main focus of Monster to me. And so the thing that trips me out the most about this whole situation, with this prison murder is the fact that the co-defendant of Cody Taylor has been exposed to be a sex offender himself. I don't know if he was part of the same organization or group that Monster claims or is a part of or is alleged to be a part of. But I don't think a guy with those type of charges, would be associated with or, be allowed to function within that group. Now, trip out on this. I don't think Monster even knew that this guy initially was incarcerated. His crime partner, his crimey in this situation, in this murder, right, was even had these charges. He didn't even know, right? It baffles my mind that these guys moved on an SA, right? They moved on a sex offender for whatever reason, or SO, excuse me. And meanwhile, the guy he's doing the pegada with also has these type of devious behavior charges. You know, it's a trip. That's why you never know who you're functioning with or around. You could think you have a solid ass homeboy and the whole time he could be a weirdo. You just never know. You know, so the cool part is, you know, when Monster first did the pegada, the previous one, right, where they had the youngster chained to the table, handcuffed to the table, and him and his crime, he just went all out. And they were hammer fisting, you know, this knife into this guy's chest. It was a very brutal attack. You know, there's more to that story than people figured out. You know, Monster himself said that he was allowed to do that hit. Now, I don't know if he was just woofing or talking shit or trying to pin it on someone else and make the CDC look bad. But he alleged that he was allowed and given access to doing dry runs to practice this hit. I don't know it to be true. Again, man, in prison, anything is anything. You just never know, right? But in this situation right here, I don't think anyone knows the reasoning why this pegada happened. But, you know, on them SNY yards, it's the Wild Wild West. You know, more murders occur on the SNY yards than any general population yard in the state of California. And the reason is there's no one to answer to. There's no politics. There's no guidelines or rules. You know, if you wake up and you're mad at someone, then you just handle your business. There's not going to be a whole group of people. You know, it's not going to be a racial issue. There's no racial lines in the sand. There's no barriers. It's pretty much prison before all the politics got involved. You know, and so these guys, regardless if you agree with their charges or the reasoning why they're on a SNY yard, they still have kill in them. A lot of these guys still have that killer instinct, and a lot of these guys still were somebody at once upon a time, and they'll continue to handle their business. Now, I think this whole situation with Monster is he's given up. He's already at the point where he's already got life, and these are the type of people that get created in prison. Guys that go in facing 6, 7, 8 years, and then all of a sudden, man, you know, they start functioning or they get involved with something, and it's like the snowball effect. It just keeps on going. And once they lose hope, once they lose, you know, any type of humanity, there's no more feelings there. They become, they get that glaze or that dark look in their eyes. They don't give a fuck. You know, another body's just another body. Now, from what it's looking like, because this was a black guy that was killed on this yard, more than likely they targeted him for whatever reason because of his cases. That was probably the reasoning behind it. But again, man, this black guy could have been a part of the group and fucked up somewhere along the lines. Whatever the case is, Monster didn't do his homework because his crime partner was the exact same thing as the person that he was targeting. You know, and it's crazy to think that, and I'm sure now this guy's exposed. Now he's a known sex offender. It's put out there. You know, a lot of these guys can get to these yards and play the role and, you know, just tell anyone, hey, you know, because it's not like, I mean, in some cases, people are going to tell you, hey, they are checking paperwork here, they're checking paperwork there. But the fact is, you know, as long as they get celled up with the right guy and they go in with the cellie and he ain't really tripping, then people could ask him, hey, what's up with your cellie? Oh, no, he's a good dude. He's a solid dude. Without having even checked his paperwork or really knowing what he's in for, they just take him at face value. You know, now I wonder how Monster feels sitting in that cell facing another life charge, which really isn't going to affect his time. But eventually what's going to happen is the CDC is going to put this guy on walk alone or cell alone status. They're going to get tired of him catching bodies wherever he goes. And for the life of me, I don't understand how this guy was still in New Folsom. Why they didn't move him and give him a fresh start somewhere else. Why he was released from the oil right back into the population yard. Now, not general population. Of course, it's a SNY yard. It makes you wonder, right? It's just a real tricky situation when it comes to this guy, Monster, Cody Taylor, and the different things that he's alleged to have done on these yards. Now, this is the second prison murder that has come up that his name has been attached to. The first one he was tried and convicted on. This one right here, I don't think there's going to be too much of a difference. You know, it's crazy that these type of individuals that do these in-house prison murders are even given second opportunities or even third and fourth opportunities to function on the yard. But the fact is, unless they get death row, you can't keep them away. You have to eventually release the monster to a yard. And, someone who doesn't have hope, someone who doesn't really give a fuck. I don't know if you guys seen the interview that Flacco from a convict's perspective did with him, but he was proud and embellished, the murders that he did. He was definitely a different type of individual or character to listen to. It almost made you wasco and sick to your stomach to hear how the way he embellished and he glorified these murders like it wasn't nothing, like it was just another day, a walk in the park. And some people are going to say, well, that's what a real one does. That's not what a real one does. That's what a real one with a veil in front of his face does. His mind is already shot out. He's done. His situation is it's just progressing. It's getting worse. Again, there's a lot of questionable things in this story. One is, how are they on a 180 level 4 yard, yet they were out of their cells at 5 p.m.? Was it, I've never seen 180 yards get night yard. Never in the history of me being locked up. And so if this guy was let out of his cell for whatever reason, him and his co-defendant, that's crazy, right? That's skeptical. I'm just skeptical of that. But again, I haven't been in New Folsom. I don't know the program there. Dubs has been in New Folsom. He could pretty much run you down in his spill about the whole get down and makeup of New Folsom. Now, again, this was an S&Y yard. This was a level 4 180 S&Y yard. It's probably ran a whole lot different than your traditional 180 yards, on the general population side. I know those are very monitored and controlled. The S&Ys are a little bit more loose. And that's why you have these type of fucking murders that occur because they're so loose. They think because you take these guys and you put them in a protective custody yard or whatever, they just lose their gangsterism. They don't. Now, if you listen to that interview with Cody Taylor, you recognize one thing. And again, I implore you to go listen to it on a Convict's Perspective channel, right? That guy is a lost soul. And I've seen plenty of them. I've had homeboys that once they get that, we call it the dark eye, right? Not the stink eye, the dark eye. Once you get the stink eye too, but once you get that dark eye, it's like this mist goes over you. You just don't give a fuck anymore, right? You give up on life. And to take a life, man, is nothing. It's inconsequential because you're not going to get more time. What are they going to do? Give his life case a piggyback ride? It's really nothing. I'm a true believer in, an eye for an eye, and it is what it is. But when these individuals don't have nothing, there's no consequences. What do you think they're going to do? He's going to continue to act out, continue to earn his stripes on the yard that he's on. Now, does it mean anything to a general population here? Absolutely not. The guy's still going to be considered a piece of shit. He's still going to be considered trash. He's still going to be considered whatever, the general population yards, active gang members consider non-active gang members. Because regardless of what he thinks, whether he's active in his little group or whatever he's doing on these protective custody yards, he's still looked at as a PC case, man. And that's unfortunate, but that's just the way it is. I just thought it baffled my mind that this guy was given an opportunity again, to go to a yard and commit basically the same offense. But the cold part of this story is that his crime partner is a sex offender too. I bet you didn't know that one. I bet you that one kind of got him in the boo-boo. And this is the type of things that you're going to have to deal with. This is the reason why people are skeptical about the S&Y yards, because there are guys with funny, weird charges on them yards. Nothing funny about it, but just weird charges. And so now this guy is sitting in a holding tank or a cell right now in the oil, thinking his crime partner was solid and they did this big old move and they killed this guy and they earned some more stripes and they're just good dudes. And to come to find out, his cellie was in on the same exact shit. Very frivolous, very unnecessary. Now, again, this guy had a sex case. The black guy, it is what it is. There's no sympathy or any of that for them type of guys, right? But at the same time, the monster of New Folsom is definitely gaining a reputation within the CDC. This guy is becoming someone you don't want to sell it with or be on the yard with because he'll hit you for whatever reason, allegedly. I just thought that this was a story that I wanted to tell, man. I know Dubs is going to touch on it. And again, I want to say that these guys that join these dropout prison gangs or whatever label you want to put on them, right? Some of them are vicious. Some of them are very dangerous individuals. Some of them are not playing, right? They get a second opportunity or a second chance at being somebody, and they go to the fullest. You know, it trips me out to think, you know, where was this energy, like I said in the beginning of the spiel, where was this energy, where was all this at when you were on the main line? But you never know what led up to his demise, you know, and so now he's proven himself to be a hitter, and he's not to be taken lightly. So anyways, man, I implore you guys to listen to the first story about the first murder that he did, man, that actually made news, was newsworthy, you know, because that youngster that got killed was chained to a table, and he was just brutally unalived, right? And now this one right here, as the facts keep continuing to come out, I don't know the whole situation. I don't know what the black dude was involved in, but from the looks of his cases and the looks of what he was incarcerated for, I could pretty much see the writing on the wall, man. This guy was, he had a bad case, and he found himself in the midst of the monster. And that's it. Now, where does the crime partner go from here with the sex cases too? Well, more than likely, he's probably going to give up the ghost and tell on Cody. But it's not going to make a difference. Like I said, what are they going to do? Give Cody another life case? You know, there's no different factors in this to make it a death row case. And then death row in California is no longer there. So it's just a situation where wherever they put this guy, he's going to continue to do what he does, and no one can stop him. So with that being said, man, I hope that you move with a purpose. Think about prison before you go there. People think they can get away from these active general population yards, you know, and go to these SNY yards and be cool and hide out. But it's worse over there. It's worse on them yards because there's no one dictating a program. There's no one having any type of structure. There's no politics. There's no racial barriers or guidelines. There's none of that. What there is a whole bunch of people trying to prove how cool they are. And these guys that don't have these weird cases, and even in this case, look at, there was a guy with a weird case, and he still did a movida. I'm just telling you right now, man, you're not safe anywhere you go in the California Department of Corrections if you find yourself in the midst of fucking bullshit. That's just what it is. Thumbs up or thumbs down. Heavy's going to be the head that wears the crown. I'm going to continue to strive, struggle, and strive for what I truly believe in, and that's the betterment of all people. The gun. Bang, bang.